sorry for not being so active, but since I've come back to school, there is just so much work and I don't have any free time except Saturdays. Um, However, on the weekend I have to do my homework, which includes a lot of readings, a lot of research and stuff, and it's too much. I can't seem to adapt to this new schedule of mine. It's absolutely horrible, and I am trying to cope with it somehow. But I already feel so tired of it. I have a whole week full of classes, no free time in between those. I don't even have time for lunch, like, it is absolutely crazy. And so much work, as I said. I don't want to seem like I am excusing myself to not to do work, but I hope you understand that this is quite hard time for me. And also, I want to apologize for any art, for any loud noises. Yeah, but you know how it goes with me, with my videos. There's always some kind of disturbance, like, yeah, I'm sorry. But enough about me. How are you guys doing? I'm sorry to set up such a shady or dark atmosphere, but I just had to tell you what is going on with my life right now. How are you guys? I hope you are doing well. Welcome back. I totally forgot to greet you properly. Yeah. classes consist mostly of Czech and psychology and pedagogy and didactics classes, and we speak Czech there. So yeah, sorry for any mistakes. Okay, let's start. This was a long intro and I'm sorry. Okay. Hugo, the Atlas Hungarian. Georgie couldn't stop laughing. This meant Harry couldn't stop laughing either. You should have seen his face, yelled Georgie. His face loved Harry. He was scared witless. Virginia thought they were very mean. They were being very mean. Boys, she said, that poor ghost. Haven't you teased him enough? He was trying to scare us. Fair's fair, said Georgie. Fair is fair, said Harry. Virginia scowled. It was bad enough having one 90-year-old brother. Twins were the end. You had to hear every silly thing twice. True. Mr. Otis put down his newspaper. The Otis family, he said, must not look after itself. Must look after itself. But I will not put up with bullying. I agree, said Mother, spooning treacle onto her toast. Treacle, I don't know how this word is pronounced. Treacle. I don't know. Please tell me in the comments if you know. Onto her toast. Boys, you are to leave the Canterville ghost alone. If there is any funny business, your father and I will deal with it. Georgie pulled a face. So did Harry. Virginia went into the library to look at that morning's stain. It wasn't there. She felt rather sad and secretly hoped it would come back. Breakfast wouldn't be quite the same without it. Washington was thrilled. He held up the bottle. Good timing. Look, that's the last of the pots. Virginia wandered into the garden thinking about the ghost. It couldn't be much fun being a ghost. It must be very lonely hanging around. Hanging around the same place for hundreds of years with no one to talk to. Still, this Sir Simon, whatever his name was, had done something pretty terrible, even if it was a long time ago. Maybe he deserved it. Virginia could hear the twins whooping and yelling. Georgie was shouting that the three of them should have a game, but his sister wasn't in the mood. You two play, she said, and remember what Ma and Pa said. No more playing our ghost, understood? Yes, understood, said Georgie. Understood, came the echo from Harry. Sir Simon de Canterville was not feeling sorry for himself at that moment. He was looking for the ghost got difficult, Sir Simon had a backup plan. He would offer to share the haunting. Two ghosts would be better than one, especially when those terrible twins were around. When he reached the spot where he had last seen the ghost, a terrible sight met his eyes. Something awful had happened. The ghost was leaning against the wall, as if in pain. The gleaming sword had fallen from his hand. For a second he felt sorry for him. Then he took a deep breath. "Canterville, put yourself together," he muttered. Even so, he couldn't leave a fellow ghost like that. He reached out and tried to lift him up, but to Sir Simon's horror, the ghost head fell off. It rolled across the floor, and his body fell to pieces inside Sir Simon's arms. Sir Simon was holding a white cotton sheet. He grabbed at the placard, which had hung along the ghost's neck. It read, "Yeah, all the ghosty and all other real spooks, beware of fakes." Tricked, worst of all, made a fool of, and by a pair of 9-year-olds who couldn't even spell. This was not playing fair. He ground his thief, and muttered the rudest, angriest things he could think of. Something had to be done, and quickly. Here you can see the picture of the Canterville ghost with a note from the twins. The problem was, all this was having a bad effect on Sir Simon. He had the jitters. The slightest noise made him jump. He kept to his room for 3 whole days, going over things in his mind. By then, he had given up on the stain. If this rotten American family didn't know first class British haunting, then they didn't deserve it. And that Washington and his cleaning habits, odd in such a young man, peculiar even. This family were not worth hunting. There was also something they could never know or hope to understand. It was the Ghost Charter. This was something Sir Simon took very seriously. He had to haunt at least once a week, as well as doing chain rattling duty once a month. There was no way you could escape these duties and keep his honor. That was a fact. For the next few weeks, he carried out his work as usual. However, he grabbed, he flitted, he hid under a long black cloak, and he even tried out the 8-foot pots all-purpose on his chains. It worked quite well, actually. In fact, he left the Odysseys alone, but the boys did not leave him alone. Not a bit of it. They stretched strings across the stairs to trip him up. A butter slide, a horrible invention, sent him skating down the hall on his bottom at full speed. He crashed into a washing basket, sending the clothes flying. Something fell on his head. He reached up and pulled it down. Knickers! Oh, the shame of it! He was holding a huge pair of Mrs. Amney Sunday best. Here is the whole picture of Sir Simon sliding down in a pile of clothes. After a few more of these tricks, he began to get angry. He wanted revenge. He was the Canterville ghost, he reminded himself. He would not be made a fool of. He would not. He's got a good telling of the cluttering and shrieking had woken the whole house. They had to own up to teasing Sir Simon, and Mr. Artist sent them to their room for 3 whole days as a punishment. Poor Mrs. Umney was so shaken she locked herself in a room and wouldn't come out. My nerves can't take it, she said. For the next few days there was no sign of the Canterville ghost. He's gone, said Washington. He's run away. And good riddance. I do believe you're right, said his father. I shall write to Lord Canterville once and tell him. But Virginia wasn't so sure. Perhaps the poor chap was hiding somewhere, shivering with the cold. He probably hadn't even got a towel to dry himself off. On the other hand, she was hoping he would keep out of the way for a few more days. Things were changing. Now that her mother believed that they had a spook-free house, she would decide to hold a big party. Everyone had been invited, including the young Duke of Cheshire, who was going to stay overnight. He had become a good friend. The last thing Virginia wanted was for him to be woken in the night by some clammy spook looming all over him. She would never see him again. To her relief, the week passed by with no hauntings at all, not a squeak. The library was even free of stain. All seemed well. The day after the party, the Duke and Virginia went out riding. He was a brilliant horseman, and she found herself thinking what a wonderful thing it was to be such friends. Then, when jumping through the hedge, she ripped her riding breeches badly. She made an excuse and galloped home. She wanted to change into another pair and get back to the Duke as soon as possible. To save time, she used the back staircase. As she ran past the old tapestry chamber, she thought she heard someone. She peeped inside. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. There was Sir Simon sitting by the window, his head resting on his hand, and his grey hair looped around his pale face. He looked sad and depressed, and he had clearly no idea she was there. She wanted to run, but he looked so lonely, so deeply sad that she found herself speaking. "It's you," she said, taking care that she could make a run for it if she had to. "I'm sorry you're sad, but my brothers are going back to school tomorrow, so if you behave yourself, no one will bother you anymore." He turned. His voice was low and quivery. "It's no use asking me to behave myself. Quite ridiculous. I must rattle my chains. I must groan and flit around at night. I have no choice. It's the only reason I have for being here at all." Virginia could hardly believe she was talking to a ghost, but no, there he was. "It's not a reason for being here," she said gently. "You have been very wicked. Mrs. Umney told us of your cruelty to your poor wife." "Well, yes," he replied, stroking his beard. I shouldn't use your paint. That's it, said Virginia. Goodbye. I'm going to ask Dad to get the twins another week's holiday. You're impossible. You should at least say sorry. Don't go, he said, please. If only you knew. I'm so lonely and unhappy. I'm really sorry for everything I did. I didn't mean to kill my wife. I really didn't. And I'm sorry about the pains and the other things, he added. All I want to do now is go to sleep, and I cannot. I haven't slept for 300 years. I am so very tired. He began to wail. Don't get upset, said Virginia, daring to go a little closer. Is there no place you can sleep? Far away beyond the woods, he said, looking wistfully out of the window, there is a little garden. The grass is long and deep and scattered with lovely little white flowers, like stars. A nightingale sings all night long while the yew tree spreads its arm over the sleepers. Tears came into Virginia's eyes. You mean the graveyard? She said. Yes, replied the ghost. It must be so wonderful to lie in the soft brown earth, so comfortable, not to have to flit around being the Canterbury ghost forever. Forced to screech and cackle and rattle my chains, never able to sleep, never even have one friend. By this time, tears were pouring down Virginia's face. What a long, lovely, lonely 300 years. Can't anyone help you? She said. You know something, he said. You could help. Virginia felt suddenly scared. You can help me because you are good and kind. Good is stronger than evil. That is one thing I know. She shuddered. She felt as if she was in some awful dream. You know what is written on the library window? It's the Control Prophecy. Yes, we've all read it. I know it by heart. Virginia spoke the funny old words. When a kind and true young heart can tell the good from the evil part, when that some heart sheds a tear, and the dead tree fruits does bear, then all in this house shall be still, and peace shall come to Canterville. What does that mean? It means that if a kind young person sheds a tear for me because I can't cry myself, and is good where I'm most definitely not good, there is hope for me. They will be merciful. Virginia had a funny feeling, really weird. It felt as if she had a chance to do something very important. But she didn't like the sound of this they, whoever they were. You see, you have already done part of it. You cried for me because you were sorry that I can't save myself, said the Canterbury ghost. But now you must ask for mercy for poor old Canterville. It won't be easy. You will see horrible shapes in the darkness. Wicked voices will whisper in your ear. But nothing will harm you. Trust me, nothing can harm you. I will do it, Virginia said quickly before she could have time to change her mind. The words just came out. I will ask them for mercy for you. So Simon jumped up with joy. Bending down on one knee, he kissed her hand. Thank you. Then the wall slowly faded away like mist. A big black cavern opened up in front of Virginia. Bitter cold, like the iciest winter wind, swept around the room. Bravely, she set out to plead for forgiveness for Simon. searched every room in the house. Then Mr. Otis, Washington, and the Duke searched the countryside around. No one had seen Virginia or heard of her since she left the Duke. Suspicion even fell on the travelers that had been camping in the Darkfell Hollow. But the travelers were good fellows, and they were so upset at the news of Virginia's disappearance that they joined in the search too. Mr. Otis and the boys and half the village trudged far and wide with lanterns, searching everywhere. The young Duke of Cheshire was wild with despair and galloped hither and thither, despite Mr. Otis' fears for his safety. By the evening, everyone was truly frightened, for no trace of the missing girl could not be found. No trace of the missing girl could be found. Her mother lay on the sofa, weeping. "My poor child," she wailed. "What can have happened?" Mrs. Umney mopped Mr. Otis' forehead. "Oh, woe, perhaps we shall never know," she muttered. This didn't help matters very much. The young Duke wanted to go on searching all night long, but everyone was worn out. Mr. Otis insisted they should have something to eat. It was important to keep up their strength, he said. Supper was ordered. It was a sad and gloomy meal. Hardly anyone spoke. Even the twins were silent. Mr. Otis said that first thing in the morning they would telegraph Scotland Yard for their top detectives to be sent down without delay. Just as they were going out of the dining room, midnight struck on the big hall clock. Its chimes echoed around the house, and when the last stroke sounded, there was a deafening crash. This was followed by a sudden shrill cry. A crack of thunder shook the house to its foundations, and a strain of weird, unearthly music floated on the air. Mrs. Umney clutched at Mother. Oh doom, she cried. Something amiss is in the room. They all looked up. All of a sudden, a panel at the top of the stairs flew open. Virginia stepped out smiling. In her hand, she was holding a little box. Mrs. Otis leaped up the stairs and held her daughter tightly in her arms. Then they all fell upon Virginia, kissing and hugging. "My goodness, child, where on earth have you been?" cried her father rather crossly. "We've been half mad with worry. We thought she would be playing some stupid trick, and he was so glad to see her. It made him angry." "Don't be angry, Dad," said Virginia. "I met Sir Simon, the ghost of the Cantervilles. He told me that he had been wicked, but that he was very sorry for everything, and he asked me to ask for forgiveness for him. My God. So I did. He's now at rest forever, and look, he gave me this box of jewels." They stared at her as if she'd gone mad. Mrs. Umney looked as if she might faint clean away. "Come with me," said Virginia. "I'll show you." She led them through the door in the paneling and down a narrow secret passage. Washington lit the way with a candle. They came to a big oak door, studded with rusty nails. When Washington touched it, it swung open. They were in a little low room with one tiny barred window. In the wall was a heavy iron ring. Chained to it was a skeleton lying on the stone floor. Everyone stared at the strange scene in wonder. The twins looked out of the little window. branches of magnificent ostrich feathers pulled Sir Simon's funeral carriage. It was a magnificent scene. Lord Canterville himself was the chief mourner, having come from Wales for the funeral. He sat in the front carriage with Virginia and her father, Mrs. Otis and Washington, and the twins were in the next one. In the last carriage sat Mrs. Umney. Everyone felt that she had been terrified for so long she had the right to see he was finally at rest. By ear of pig and tooth of hound, he'll die forever underground, she muttered over and over again. The Canterville ghost was buried under the biggest yew tree in the graveyard, its branches spread like cradling arms over the earth. Mr. Otis wanted the casket of jewels to go back to the Canterville family. Virginia agreed with him, but Lord Canterville would have none of it. Sir, he said, your brave child has saved the soul of Sir Simon de Canterville. My family is very grateful for her courage. Sir Simon gave her the jewels, and they are clearly hers. If I were heartless enough to take them, I do believe that wicked old fellow would be back to his tricks in a fortnight. A few years later, Virginia wore the jewels at their wedding to the Duke of Cheshire. On the day after their honeymoon, they drove down to Canterville Chase. It was a brilliant sunny afternoon as they walked down the leafy narrow lanes to the little graveyard. The gravestone was very plain. It simply had Sir Simon's initials and words from the library window. Virginia gathered some roses and stood silently for a while. Virginia, said her husband, you've never told me what happened when you disappeared. I never can, my dear, she said, in honor of Sir Simon. For all his bad deeds, he taught me one thing. Good will always triumph over evil. And she never did tell a living soul for all of her long life. We have finished the story. We have finished the story. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked it. I also want to read these notes about this book, just for a little more information in case you don't know this book. Oscar Wilde often wrote stories that poked fun at traditional plots and styles of writing. This story pokes fun at ghost stories. In most ghost stories, the living are terrified of ghosts when they appear. In this story, the ghost becomes frightened of the people, especially the young boys. Humor in the story also comes from the differences between the modern American family and the old-fashioned ways of Canterville Chase's housekeeper. Of course, to the Tudor ghosts, Sir Simon, the Otis family seem even more strange and modern. The book has been made into several films, an opera, many musicals, and a ballet. There have also been many TV adaptations, including one in 1996, in which Patrick Stewart from the Star Trek series played the ghost. And here are some